My fingers trembled against the velvet edge of my diploma as the headmaster's voice droned into a crescendo. Rows of grey folding chairs pressed together beneath the harsh auditorium lights, their metal frames reflecting my nervous face from 1,000 crooked angles. My classmates slouched in their seats, fanning themselves with programs, faces flushed from too much sun and not enough sleep. A red velvet banner with our school's name sagged gently above the platform. I left my seat when the name Shinosuke Kiyama bellowed from the microphone. My legs felt stiff in the heat, my mind still racing with the hurried words I'd scribbled on 3 bent index cards. I bowed as I took the podium. Grandfather's eyes met mine from the second row, stern and unsmiling, his grizzled jaw set like stone. My parents sat next to him, both quiet, their lips pressed. Even from here, my mother's anxious smile flickered as she gripped my father's hand. I felt it, the wedge of expectation and disappointment lodged between them. The room went still as I spoke. Thank you for letting me address my friends and teachers today. I know most of us don't have all the answers. In the spirit of honesty, I'd like to share my dream. I want to be a data artist in Tokyo. To use code and imagination and numbers to create art that tells stories no one's seen before. A sharp cough broke the silence. Someone in the back chuckled. I recognized the sound immediately. It was Daiche, my cousin, ever the first to scoff, just loud enough for others to hear. Whispers flitted down the center aisle like minnows along shallow water. I pressed on, heart hammering, words bursting out faster than I could control. I know data art isn't what people expect. But I believe, one day soon, this is how we'll communicate, across barriers. I want to inspire others, maybe even here, to see beauty in what we ignore every day. A scattering of laughter rode across the floor. My uncle muttered, maybe he'll draw us all up some numbers for the dinner menu. I tried to smile, holding my composure with both hands. I thanked everyone, ignored the red heat blooming in my cheeks, and bowed low before jogging off the stage, diploma almost slipping from my palm. I could feel the sting of humiliation, made worse by the cold gaze of my family. They said nothing when I returned to my seat. When the ceremony ended, my classmates packed up with laughter and plans. I found myself alone behind the cinder block wall as the last of the light waned. Outside, grandfather caught up with me. His grip on my shoulder surprised me with its strength. Why shame us with talk like that? His voice was low. We gave you everything, and now you want to play with numbers and colors. Your father works honest hours, you do well to follow him. He left me with the sigh of his coat brushing past, the slow fall of sakura petals littering the school's concrete steps. That was that. My father said nothing on the walk home. Over the next months, the wound kept reopening. At family dinners, my dream was always a joke slipped between mouthfuls of rice and pickled radish. Still chasing the numbers, Shin, Aunt Ree would sing, when will we see you at the bank like a real adult? Even my mother's patience wore thin. She worried aloud over tea, hands curled tight around her mug. Shinkan, everyone needs to follow their heart, but Tokyo is expensive. The city is hard. Art isn't a job. Promise me you'll look for something steady too. But I had made my choice. I left home 2 weeks after graduation. With my portfolio zipped into a threadbare backpack and too little cash, I boarded the last train north. Tokyo welcomed me with the wide hush of midnight traffic and the stale stink of steamed buns cooling in convenience stores. I rented a cubicle in a dormitory for young freelancers. The room barely fit a mat and a laptop, but it was mine. The city blinked outside my foggy window, neon and noise and anonymity. I scraped by on odd tech gigs, crunching spreadsheets for local shops, coding for basement startups. At night, I built algorithms and templates, combing through Tokyo's open data sets until my eyes begged for sleep. I painted with lines of code, fractals and patterns blooming in digital space, each piece an attempt to make invisible things visible. The city's power grids, rainfall distributions, traffic flows, shapes spun out in colors and curves. At first nobody cared. My inbox stayed empty except for rejections. My bank account dwindled. Once I overheard the landlord mutter, another starving artist playing with computers, why bother? But every failure turned into fuel. Every small data set was a new landscape. When the heat broke in August, I landed a freelance contract with a marketing agency hungry for novelty. They wanted eye-catching visuals for a mobile campaign, so I spun Tokyo's morning train schedules into a rushing rainbow of pulsing lines. The campaign went viral. The agency praised my methods until they saw my invoice and cut me out of the next round. Your work is too niche, they said. No audience. For 2 years, my career grew in fits and starts. I ate noodles and drank tap water, sleeping under the hum of my laptop. I watched my friends take ordinary jobs, posting pictures of office dinners and glossy paychecks. Most nights, I wondered if grandfather was right. I imagined the silence that would greet me if I went home empty-handed, but I kept at it, learning to bend code around story. I mapped Tokyo's rainfall as 1,000 brushstrokes, each pixel capturing a drop that fell last autumn. I charted the city's bicycle routes, lines that glowed with the rhythm of morning traffic, each path a heartbeat in digital blue. I posted these quietly online. My audience was a handful of strangers from Europe or Singapore who left comments like mesmerizing, nothing more. It wasn't enough to pay my bills, but it kept my dignity intact, my private proof that someone somewhere saw beauty in my work. In the city, time slipped by. The more I coded, the more the city itself took shape beneath my hands, its invisible scaffolding of data, its secret pulse, its possibilities. I started going to free meetups, cheap workshops. One night, the director of a new art gallery saw my work on a borrowed projector at a noisy cafe. Her name was Nakamura-san, and she was younger than I'd expected, with cropped hair and kind eyes. "This has something," she said, looking at my rainfall piece glowing in ultraviolet. "You're telling stories with math, no one does that here yet." The gallery gave me a small show. My grand exhibition was nothing more than 6 thin screens blinking in a drafty concrete room, the reception crowded with friends of the other artists. Still, people stopped and stared. An old salaryman with thick glasses asked me, "What does this mean?" I tried to explain the pulse of real city life, the poetry hiding in numbers. A famous musician came by on a whim and snapped photos for his social. He tagged me, and within days my inbox filled for the first time. Invitations from design houses, commissions from marketing firms, even a software giant asking about collaborations. My rates tripled, and I finally moved out of my closet room into an airy apartment overlooking a park. Florist shops wanted data art for window displays. Record labels paid me to turn music into light patterns for music videos. I lost myself in work, hands flying over keys until dawn. I stopped watching the clock, stopped counting my yen before each meal. Awards trickled in from tech collectives and art publications. I told myself, when this is all enough, I'll go home. They'll have to listen now. 3 years to the day after that graduation, a gallery in Shibuya offered me a solo exhibit. The Heartbeat of Tokyo. The invitation landed in my parents' mailbox by courier, embossed and elegant. My mother left me a voicemail, her tone almost shy. "Your uncle says he saw your name in the magazine. Maybe father wants to come." The night of the show, spring rain glazed the city's streets, droplets threading the neon. The gallery filled with journalists, art students, a writer from a weekly magazine. My old classmates arrived, curious and unsteady, chattering in the line by the door. My parents arrived early, clutching umbrellas and wearing good suits. My mother's eyes glittered with anxiety. My father's mouth was flat, unreadable. Behind them, grandfather entered, moving slower than I remembered, supported by my uncle's arm. Around them, my relatives filtered in, Aunt Ree, Dach with his smug laughter buried for once, old school acquaintances who had always dismissed me as the odd cousin. I greeted everyone, bowing, answering questions. I offered my mother a drink, which she refused, her hands shaking around her purse. In the main gallery, my work glimmered across soaring panels, the rainfall map, the train rush, the glowing city nights. One wall displayed a live feed, almost a living painting, as every step, pause and train delay in Tokyo unfolded in swelling colored motion. Each wave, each ripple mirrored the city's life. The audience wondered and pointed. They gathered around the rain map drawn by the colors, murmuring their wonder, but it was the last piece, my favorite, not listed anywhere yet, that drew a hush. I called it Home Signals. I'd secretly built it using public data from my old village, the patterns of phone calls, internet activity, the sweeps of power grid surges around our neighborhood. It was rendered in cool blue and gold, a map that pulsed with the evening rhythm of the houses I knew best. For the first time since leaving, my family didn't know what to say. Aunt Ree spoke first, her voice a half whisper. "Wait, is that our house?" "There on the left." I nodded and brought her closer. I explained, every spike, every pulse is when someone comes home and switches on the hallway light, when tea is boiling, when the TV starts at 7. The patterns, the lines, are us. That gold flare is grandfather's house. It happens at 5 every evening, the moment he turns on his reading lamp. The gallery stilled, even Daichai stared. My father reached out a slow hand and traced the golden light on the projection. His face, so reserved, flickered with recognition. He turned to grandfather. "Father, do you see?" His voice caught in his throat. Grandfather studied the map in silence, as if weighing something ancient and private. Finally, he turned to me. His eyes were wet with memory rather than pride. "This is our life," he said, voice gruff, but shown in a way I never imagined. He gave a small, deliberate nod. "I see it now." I felt the breath leave my body. 3 years of shame, isolation, and stubborn hope washed out of me. People came closer, asking questions, pointing out familiar landmarks. "Look, there's the rice field," laughing and touching hands. Some of the cousins who once joked at my expense now crowded around, fishing for explanations and technical details, wanting to know how I captured so much with just data. A reporter from NHK, overhearing, asked to interview my grandfather. My family fluttered, bashful pride replacing their old skepticism. Aunt Ree snapped a photo of my nameplate beside the largest piece. My mother dabbed tears with her sleeve. One by one, they congratulated me with cautious warmth at first, then genuine wonder as the night wore on. Outside, the rain slackened. The glow of Shibuya bled softly through the glass windows. My friends milled around, toasting my success, trading business cards with my relatives. I felt something loosen and settle inside me, where the hurt had always lived, a new dignity maybe, but nostalgia too. After the show, my family and I walked the city together. We ducked into a late-night izakaya, old jokes surfacing in ways that felt safe now. My father, warmed by sake, patted my back and asked about the algorithms, as if decoding my world for the first time. Even grandfather raised his cup to me. Weeks later, at home for the first time in years, I watched grandfather stand at his window as dusk fell. The village was small and quiet, far from Shibuya's brightness but beautiful in its own light. He showed me a clipping from the local newspaper. "Local sun brings village to Tokyo art world." He handed it to me wordlessly, then rested his hand on my shoulder with the old, sure grip. In those quiet moments, I realized that success isn't roaring applause or magazine covers, though I'd had those things now. It's the hush that follows, when the people who once doubted you finally see themselves in your dream. When your own story turns into theirs, when what was once dismissed as ridiculous quietly becomes a source of pride. As spring opened onto the streets, I woke each morning to the sound of birds outside my childhood window, a rhythm as true as any heartbeat my data had ever captured. My family and the villagers greeted me with new eyes. At festival time, someone asked, half joking, "Will you be making art of our fireworks this year, Shin-kun?" I laughed and said, "Only if I can capture your laughter too." The old shame slipped quietly away, replaced by something gentler, something earned. I had gone far, succeeded in ways I once thought impossible, but it was this return, the way my work wound itself home and home opened to receive me, that made every struggle worth it. And in the soft, golden evenings of the village, as lights blinked on behind every window, I watched the living data of our everyday stories, now visible to all, shine quietly on.